Let me hit record. Okay, there we go. All right. So this week, kind of going into the remaining of the week, we do have a in command class and our CE credit class tomorrow. Also, don't forget to vote if you haven't. There I am. If you can see me, I had the
yes. Happy Election Day, everyone.
Yeah.
Can I say something real quick, just really fast about the class on Wednesday? Even if you're not in teams or in a team, you should still join because there's a lot of things that rolled out along with teams that would affect everybody. That's it.
Thank you, Tanya. Yes, it was the biggest update that's happened in a long time. And so there's another really good call out just for something that people were asking for is when you do the drop down for how many contacts you can view on a page, you can now view 500 at a time. Oh, I'm stealing Tanya's. Okay, just kidding. You have to go to Tanya's class. There's some really good updates, really good updates. And then I kind of want to talk about our team meeting for next week. So we have booked a Tony Robbins speaker to come virtually, right? His name's Dragan Trzaskowski, and he is one of their #1 national trainers and presenters, and they're going to present to us on mindset. They do this at a lot of other Keller Williams offices. It gets amazing reviews. We're going to send out some more information, but this should be a really cool presentation. So hopefully everyone's excited about that. We'll send out specific information about that with the registration link.
It's actually a great time of the year to talk about mindset.
Yeah, so let me tell you more about it. It's all about reaching your peak performance. So and whether that means in life, in work, and just the psychology behind your achievement. And it talks about 5 habits of effective communication, different things to start doing right away to start having higher results, clear targets. It just will be an awesome goal setting and mindset workshop for the new year. So it will be a little bit longer than our normal meeting. So let's adjust that us, and it'll be 10 to 11:30, and there will be a different link for that. So we'll make sure we send that out. But I just wanted to talk a little bit more about that since that is different. And then for Ignite next week, we have Tony Kelly, one of our secret owners. He will show his face live. So that should be a great one. And a reminder, anyone can go to the Ignites. You don't have to be a new agent. So he'll be talking all about working with buyers. And then Veterans Day is a banking holiday. So just as you're doing your prepared addendums and earnest money and counting days, just remember to factor that in. So let's go to the cappers. See who capped last month.
All right. I need to pull that up real quick. Let's send that real quick, and then boom. And then I'm going to, oh, shoot. Sorry, buddy. I lost it. There we go. There.
No, can't see it. Oh, here we go.
Boom.
Oh, look at Schwab's, Mike Kaufman, and Cricket. So congrats to all of you guys for capping last month. That's always exciting. And then let's check out the November birthdays.
Oh, yes. Let's get those up too. Man, everything just deleted when I did something. So I'm going to post it. There we go. Haha.
Awesome. So lots of birthdays this month. So happy birthday to everyone on there. Oh my gosh, so many great people. So happy birthday to all of our November birthdays. Let's jump right into our content for today. So today we wanted you to hear from your fellow agents, right? Because you guys give the best advice to each other and tips. And it's always good to hear what other people are doing to re-engage your business, find business, what is everyone doing right now? So hopefully, and everyone can kind of share different things and take a little bit. And then please, if you have any questions or want to chime in anything, please feel free. I would love for today's meeting to be very discussional and very open. So Jenny, why don't you tell everyone, hello, good morning. Will you tell everyone about what you're doing right now and your mailer and just what's been going on, what's working?
Hi. So obviously we're all listings are in short supply, right? So this year one of my focuses was building my business in my neighborhood, in my farm, which is the Villebois neighborhood in Wilsonville. And I decided to start sending mailers. I sent the first one last month, and I have them here. And I tried to like be kind of not do the normal real estate mailer. And that means like, I don't know. I just didn't want to, I wanted it to look different so that it would grab people's attention. So I kind of went all out on the first one. It's like a big 3-panel. And it just kind of talks about my recent success this year. It has like a letter to the neighbors and talking about now is a great time to sell. And lo and behold, I got a call from some neighbors and I've got a listing coming up from this first one. And then those sellers are looking for a house in the neighborhood that's bigger than what they have. And there's just nothing for sale. So I sent out another one last week that's like I have buyers currently searching for, and I put the 2 houses that I'm looking for my buyers. And I got a call on Friday from this one. And I have a listing appointment this week with a potential seller. So coming up with like generating listings has been a focus for my mailers, and it's working.
That is so cool.
That's so cool.
Yes. Tell us more about did you design those all yourself?
I did, and Tanya's gonna be mad at me, but I am a grumpy former graphic designer, so I have tools that I am already comfortable using. So I did design them myself. I did not use Command, but you totally could. You could totally create these in Command and send them out that way. I have a local printer that I work with here in Wilsonville, and he sends me referrals. So I'm kind of, loyal to him. And he helped me put together the Every Door direct mail thing. And yeah, so I did it myself.
How many people did you target?
There's about 2,300 homes in Villebois right now. So yeah. I sent to every homeowner.
Quite a few. So are you going to continue? What is your cadence going to look like moving forward?
My plan is to do it every month, and it's expensive, but if I can get a listing out of everyone, then it's worth it.
Right. Knowing your ROI. About how much does it cost for you to print and send out each?
The first one I did was more expensive, but I'm not going to keep doing like trifold. So this one was about $1,200.
Okay. Yeah. You got it. 2 days. Oh yeah.
What's that? All in, yeah, with postage and printing.
And what's the value of the listing?
The listing is going to be about 500,000.
12.5 commission.
Yeah, and then that'll lead to other opportunities. For me, it's about building momentum. So for one listing, that may not sound like it's worth it for everybody, but for me, trying to take over market share in my neighborhood, it's beginning worth it.
Absolutely. No, and I mean it does. I mean the ROI is there, right? You're seeing if you get one every time or a potential or and so also again it's that brand awareness within your neighborhood.
Totally.
So you're the go-to person.
And I really believe that, print is, you talk to people, it's like so old school. Now it's innovative, right? Because nobody's doing print anymore. It's all email. So I wanted to kind of approach it in a fresh way, and I think it's working so far. 2 mailers in.
Something to actually hold. Okay, so now your marketing background, give everyone some tips. What did you do to make it? What are some things you did to like make it look fresh and cool?
So I obviously have a very distinct brand, a logo. I use fonts that I've put into my brand package, and a color scheme that I'm going to be consistent with so that it starts to build recognition. I also approach things like in a very storytelling kind of aspect and very relational. So I don't try to talk at people. I try to have a conversation, even though it's print. In the first one that I sent out, I wrote a letter to the neighbors just talking about all the reasons why we love living in Villebois, and you know, that I'm really passionate about our neighborhood and helping people sell homes. And yeah, so just kind of stepping out of a salesperson voice into like, I live here, I'm your neighbor, I want to help you, that kind of tone instead.
That's awesome.
I love that. Okay, wait, one last question. And I'm asking all these questions so that hopefully, some of our agents can try to replicate this, even if it's on a much smaller scale. If you just start with your neighborhood of 40 people or
Totally
different ideas there. What was I going to ask you? Oh, like I had a good question for you. I know. Did you narrow down your list by so you get a list of addresses from the title companies, and then did you narrow that down in any way as far as how long people have lived in their house or price point, or did you just include everyone?
So the first mailer, I did use a list from the title company. I didn't narrow it down at all because I really wanted to get in front of every homeowner. And it was really interesting because some of the data that the title company pulled was incorrect. So I had a couple phone calls from people that live in the neighborhood, like, you sent me a mailer and this is the wrong information. And I was like, I'm really sorry, but it would give me an opportunity to talk to him. Yeah. This guy called and he was like, this mailer was addressed to my son who passed away 20 years ago. And I was horrified. I was like, I am so sorry. I used the title company to pull names, and, I'm deeply apologize for any kind of upset that caused. And he was really sweet. He's like, I just wanted you to know that the information you got was wrong. But then we had a conversation. I said, well, outside of that, do you have any feedback on what I sent? And he's like, oh, it was a great mailer. And if I wanted to sell my house, I'd be calling you. And I was like, okay. So I did. So using the title company, that's what I did. But I didn't narrow it down. I just used homeowners. The second one, I decided to use every door direct mail through USPS because it's a lot less expensive and you get better coverage. You get literally every house in these delivery sections that the Postal Service has. And I'm not an expert on it, but my printer is, which was helpful. So that instead of it going to somebody's name being printed on there, it just says, it goes to every address. So it says friends, neighbors, then family, every local postal customer. So I recommend doing every door direct mail over the title, unless you're looking for a specific. So I plan on doing a mailer that's specifically to potential first-time home sellers. So people who have owned their house for, 2 to 3 years in a certain square footage in our neighborhood. Because in Villebois, it's kind of like this real estate ecosystem. You can move into the apartments and then you buy a townhouse and then you move from a townhouse to a smaller house and then you can buy a big house. So it's really cool that way. So I have this idea of targeting first-time home sellers with messaging that speaks directly to them, because it's, it's uncharted territory for people when they're going to sell their house for the first time. So I have ideas around how long they've owned and the size of their house, so that I can target them. But yeah, so there's different ways you can do it. And it's kind of a new territory for me, and I'm having fun with it.
Awesome. It's so great to hear you share that, even our successful agents are evolving and thinking about what else can you do to get out of your comfort zone, or things that you aren't doing now. How can you be better to move forward? So thank you so much for sharing. Does anyone have any questions for Jenny? And if you think of any, you can always pop them in the chat too.
Well, and if anybody wants to try and kind of replicate that, but they're not a graphic designer like Jenny is, don't forget we have a marketing specialist in the office that can help you do this. So reach out to Morgan if you need help creating something beautiful, because Jenny is totally artistic and creative, but some of us aren't. So there you go.
Yes, good point. Good point. If you are not, use the resources.
Right.
So can I add one more little thing that I just I'm realizing about our market right now? I just listened to this Gary Keller Confronting Reality live stream through Maps Coaching this morning, and he was talking about how he was spitballing that maybe 10 to 20% of deals right now are happening off the MLS, so they're off market. And I actually just had a transaction in my neighborhood that was off market. Some people who wanted to sell, they had a conversation with their neighbors who knew somebody who wanted to buy. Anyway, that's another way of uncovering listings and finding listings. And that can mean like door knocking in a safe way, right? Because of COVID, but leaving a letter saying, you know, I have buyers who'd be interested in your home. I think that kind of stuff right now is going to be the way we keep getting listings, is trying to find unconventional ways to sell homes, even if it means, you know, and of course I would love to list a house on the MLS and get all that, you know, marketing play out of that. But if people don't want to do that, there are other ways around it. And talk to Mike about the best way to do it. Because I wanted to make sure that I was ethical. So yeah, and he's really helpful. But yeah, Gary Keller was just talking about how lots of deals are happening off MLS right now. And for people who are afraid of selling because of, you know, shortage of inventory, that can be a solution.
That's such a good point. You said something to me the other day about like how the inventory is so limited that you have to be doing things to create it.
Yeah.
So I love how you said that, because what are you doing that's out of the box to create it? So,
or you guys networking with each other. What do you have? What's coming up? I got somebody for this, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be great too.
Yep.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for sharing, Jenny.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. All right. That is a great idea. Let's hear what other people are doing. Pam, thanks for joining us, Pam. Tell us about what you have going on. What are you doing right now to engage your database or find business and get things rolling? Oh, you're on mute.
Okay, there we go. Sure, and I'll just comment just on what Jenny had said, because I think all of us wish that we had that skill too, right? Because the hardest part is like outsourcing things and finding out how to, you know, make our brand and what we're going to do. But we don't all have that skill, but she's so consistent in it that I think that that's the biggest thing of anything that we do, is just consistency. So find something and do it regularly and own it, because, you know, Jenny's even a newer agent, right? How long have you been in it, Jenny? 2 years, like kicking butt at 2 years. And it's because she knows her skill set. She's gotten right in that in the competitive market in Villebois and looking to own it because of the consistency behind, you know, what she does best. So I think that's awesome. So it's just being consistent, because I feel like too, we always hear these great ideas and like, we just want to implement them all because they all sound so great, but it's really just also finding what works for you. And being consistent.
That's such a good point. Like whatever you're doing, whether it's open houses, whether it's door knocking, but that consistency, because everyone isn't going to be a slam dunk, right? So you have to have that consistency.
Exactly. And keep it up and you know, pivot on it and tweak it and make it, but yeah, own it. So yeah, this year's obviously been just different and challenging in ways and also great in other ways. So, you know, kind of what, you know, we've always done. I think the biggest part first is like having a database, you know, having a database and communicating it with it in a really, you know, effective, systematic way. We have e-newsletters that go out. We started this last year on a bi-weekly basis, like going out to our database. And we've had a very, very low unsubscribe rate. And I've had good conversations around what we send out. So I think, you know, just it's relevant data. It's to the market right now. It's either market stats. It's usually once a quarter, it's market stats. And then sprinkled in between there is very relevant, like, hey, here are the restaurants that are open in your area and are doing takeout, or here's, you know, just something that's very relevant to what, you know, we're in right now. And I even think, like, you know, Heather said, Morgan has some great stuff that, you know, you don't have to go through a company like I go through to get these amazing newsletters that are relevant, because the office and Morgan can create these that you can send to your database that look great, that are good, valuable, you know, information. Because I think it's communicating with your database in a systematic and relevant way. Because everyone can spam, you know, whether you have a database of 100 or 1,000, it's really communicating, it's quality over quantity, and getting that relevant information and having follow-up conversations. So then what we do is, from the e-newsletters and that information, we have quarterly phone calls. And so that'll be broken out. There are 13 weeks in a quarter. So if you take the alphabet and you just, you know, two letters a week, you'll get through that every quarter, your database essentially, and have those quarterly phone calls. So I think that's great because, you know, touching your database, you know, there's two different ways. There's the in-person or phone call, and then there's the kind of, you know, the emails that kind of consistently will just kind of, you know, go to them, but it's following up with them too. And I think we've all heard of that. I think it's FORD, the family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. That's what the phone call is focused on. You know, hey, how's your family? You know, we all know that everyone's going through somewhat of a challenging time right now. You know, how's work? You know, recreation. Usually it's like, you know, I guess we're not asking like, hey, how was that Europe trip this year? But, you know, what are you doing for fun? Like, I'm sure some fun family traditions have been formed during this hard time. I know a lot of us have come up with some actually, you know, fun things with our family and traditions. And so those are the phone calls that we have. And sometimes it's, you know, those are easy calls to make. It's even easier now. I mean, sadly, in the middle of what we're going through, conversations and phone calls are a lot easier because everyone's having some sort of challenge right now. And so just, you know, addressing that and calling people, you know, knowing that you care during this time, I think is huge.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think people appreciate that human touch now more than ever. And I love something you said, Pam, how you're so systematic about it, right? You send that, you didn't just send the newsletter out here and there. You send it out every 2 weeks, and then you call through your database systematically every quarter. So I love that, and that, you know, that consistency, going back to what you originally said.
Yeah, and the database keeps moving. We have categories for the database. You know, are they, you know, A clients, B clients, C clients? That's kind of how we categorize, and we have different reasons why they're that. And as you get through them, I mean, people kind of move around, you know, and that's the whole point of everything we're doing. It's having the conversations on the outside to get people into the database, to get them, you know, are they, you know, buying or selling and moved? I mean, that's the whole process of what we're doing. So it's the database, it's constantly moving around from the phone calls we have. It's about having conversations and also just finding where they're at in the process. Are they looking to buy or sell? Like, do they know anybody that might be? Are they, you know, looking to sell in 2 years? Are they completely satisfied and staying put forever? I mean, those are also obviously what we're trying to get to in every conversation. And it just helps knowing where people are at in the process. You know, not every phone call is obviously trying to get someone to buy or sell. It's finding out where they're at. What are their plans? And then, you know, pop buys are something that we used to do a lot. And then it became a little bit of a, you know, hey, is this right to do? Do people want you at the doorstep? But, you know, now we're kind of re-implementing them again, where we go through our database and every quarter kind of do like a top 20 of pop buys. So whether that's, I have a gal that makes little customized, she can do it for anybody too. She's great and she's inexpensive. She's local. And she, you know, will make little pop buys. You know, she has different things every month, puts your little name sticker on it. She creates it, you know, herself. You just give her your information. And I get those, you know, usually once a quarter, and just pick 20 people out of our database for whatever reason. Maybe they're a client we're really trying to get. Maybe there's someone that, you know, we've had a conversation with that's looking to buy or sell and choosing an agent, whatever, you know, past client, whatever it is, we pick out like the top 20 that we want to have a little pop by, drop that off, send a text saying, hey, just, you know, I was thinking of you, drop something off on your porch. So that's a way to kind of, you know, engage and get out there. Just trying to think of other things that we're doing. I kind of call something planned spontaneity that I've been doing for a little while now, where, you know, it's just you're thinking of someone, you're driving through someone's neighborhood, send them a text. Like I send multiple texts a day to people, just, you know, hey, just showing a listing in your neighborhood, you know, how are you doing? So it's always having that conversation about like, I am in real estate. You know, like having them know what you do. You know, I was in your neighborhood, I was showing a house, you know, that one, like just down the street from you. So cool. So how are you doing? You know, so it's that they're constantly knowing that you're a realtor, you're engaged, you're out there doing business, and that you're also, you know, constantly communicating with them.
Plain spontaneity. I love
plain
that.
Spontaneity. Yeah, I know I think it's because we didn't really have a system before this year. So that was my system of like communicating with my database. Hey, who can I text today? But yeah, so that's, you know, every time I'm in someone's, you know, a past client's neighborhood, or yeah, sometimes too, I'll have a client that's looking for, you know, asks me like, hey, do you know we're moving to the area, do you know a veterinarian or do you know a doctor? I'll pick out, you know, 5 people in my, you know, in my database. Hey, I have a client, you know, moving here, they're buying a house with me, they're moving from California looking for a vet. I know you have a dog, you know, any vets you can recommend? So again, that's just like, and people love being resources as well. So I love kind of reaching out and letting them know like, hey, I have a client who's looking for this. Can you help me? And so then you're also a resource for your client who asks for a vet. It's not, you're actually asking your sphere. They're helping you help them.
I think that's really important too right now with COVID is you're not going to have those, you know, random run-ins with people like you would in a regular environment. So you have to be more intentional, right? You have to think of, oh, I better text that person. I better do this, right? Because you're not going to see people at school drop off and all of that. So you really have to, even if it's planning to do the spontaneous text, thinking about how many you do every day or every week, and being a lot more intentional.
Exactly. I mean, I was having so many, conversations and opportunities. You're right, at school, you know, drop off, pick up, hanging out at the playground after school, soccer practices. I mean, those were a lot of my conversations took place and happened. So it is just kind of pivoting around that and just making it looks a little different, but you're still having the conversations. Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to give one anecdotal story and then I can be done. But so last week, again, database is big. We have, I don't know how many people in it, but you know, there's only a smaller sector that we really know what their plans are. We communicate with them. I can say, hey, I know that person, this is what their plans are. And then there's a huge sector of them that we just have no idea about. So we were like, you know, hey, let's call those people and place them. Like, where are they? Who are they? What are their needs? And out of that, I think that was 2 weeks ago where we started, we got a really good phone call from someone who'd been receiving our newsletters, our relevant newsletters, never had a conversation with them. He got put in the database a 1.5 years ago. And again, had never really been properly followed up with other than that e-newsletter. But he said, you know what, you're the only person, you're the only realtor I hear from. You send great information and we're looking to sell our house. And so I had a listing appointment there last week, got everything up and ready. We're actually going live after Christmas because they have their family coming in town. But yeah, that listing is going live the first week of January. And that was just based on us re-engaging our database that we knew it kind of, and there's this sector that's been left out. So there definitely can be some gems in, you know, in people that you have in there that you haven't communicated with. So I'm kind of preaching my own badness. And that's why we're going through and trying to call them all. But you know, we missed someone.
So if you don't know how, or you don't have a system to systematize how often you're talking to your database, or you know, just keeping in touch with everybody or tracking them, Command can do that for you with smart plans. Tag your people with the DTD2, which is the 13-week plan with the alphabet. If you don't know what that is, ask me. I can provide that for you, but it's right there. All the different smart plans to help keep in touch, newsletters to go out automatically, and just everything that helps you with having that little touch with your clients and keeping in constant contact with them.
What is a smart plan?
Drip campaigns. Some people know them as drip campaigns. Command KW is smart plans now. It's basically an automated system that either it tells you a task to do, whether it's send a text, make a phone call, it will send automatic emails. If you have Twilio set up, it'll automatically send out text messages for you. It's fully customizable. There's hundreds of agent loaded smart plans in the library that you can take and tweak to make it your own. They're great. Absolutely great.
How much does it cost?
$0.
Will a smart plan, can a smart plan include postcards?
No.
Newsletters?
Well, not sure. You can create a task for yourself to send out postcards.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Good
as well as call.
Yes.
And so, yeah, you can set when those smart plans, it'll set tasks to remind you to call different people at different.
I think I would just say one more thing in Command, because we use Command too, and we're trying to get all around all its features because there are so many. But they definitely have, so they have monthly and bi-weekly market updates that are already in there, that all you have to do is pick the neighborhood, and it will start sending, and they're actually they're really good. And people can add, if that's the neighborhood they're looking in, they can actually just click on different neighborhoods and get really simple market updates delivered to them, whether it's monthly or bi-weekly. So that's a good way to actually reach out to your whole database and say, hey, I have this great, I'd love to send you a monthly update on your neighborhood, or maybe a neighborhood they're looking to move to. And I've had good feedback on those from Command, because they're done nicely, and they're organized, and they can add their own neighborhoods. So those are just called the monthly neighborhood updates, and the
neighborhood nurture. Yeah.
What? Neighborhood nurture. Neighborhood nurture.
And one of the things, Pam, I don't know if you know this, but if they open up the email and click on to view it, it takes them to a landing page. And on the contact in the timeline, it says that they viewed the neighborhood nurture landing page, or the market update landing page. So you know if they've actually gone and clicked on inside the email. Not if they open the email, but if they actually clicked in the email to open it up, you get a notification of that. Okay. And that's how often you do it. And if they go in there and you have multiple neighborhoods, it'll ding every time they go to a different neighborhood.
But thanks for calling that out, Pam. That is a great tool with the neighborhood nurture, especially for people who aren't in the market. Like, I've signed up for my own neighborhood just because who doesn't want to see what's for sale and what things are going for and just what's going on in their own neighborhood. So awesome, Pam. Thank you so much for sharing so many good little tidbits, right? About consistency, being systematic, the newsletters. And yes, Morgan is doing a monthly newsletter for everyone in the office that you can access for free. So that is available, so you don't have to recreate the content. But I love all your stories about just thinking about people and texting people when you think about them, and you have to put the message out there. So. And
letting them know you're in real estate, because I think I was always oh, I'm just communicating with people. They'll know that I'm a realtor, and because we talk all the time, they'll call me when they need to sell. That's not true. Let them know you're a realtor and you're open for business.
Yes. Right. So, and how do you do that? I know you kind of mentioned the text of oh, I'm showing a house in your neighborhood. How else do you gently remind people?
Well, and kind of like I said, hey, I have a client that's looking for a veterinarian. I mean, just, I'll I won't feel bad now. I mean, again, it was kind of that when you're newer, I felt a little awkward about throwing that in there. And it was just that, but nobody ever feels that way. If you're passionate and we love what we do, there's a reason we're doing it. I think that those conversations just are natural. And, when I'm out at the soccer, field, I'll, hey, I'm sorry I'm late. I just got, came from showings, or I was on tour, sorry I'm a little late, or hey, I had a client dinner earlier. And, so I don't know, I'll now, that'll just be, I'll be open about my real estate activities and successes, rather than kind of feeling oh, I'm embarrassed to share that because I don't want to seem like I'm, coming off in a way that, that's usually what I used to think. But now it's that's helped me lead to more and more business, is just having those conversations. And it usually always comes up too, if you're having a genuine conversation with people.
Yes. So good, right? Because people want to work with people who are genuine and love what they do. And if you're showing that genuinely. So thank you so much, Pam. Did you have what's my pleasure?
It is. Pam, what type of topics are you finding that your clients or just people in general are interested in talking about?
What kind of topics?
Mm-hmm. What do they want to know?
About
rates, house prices.
Yeah, I mean, how's the market? It's the question that we always get asked. And I feel like the same person who asks me at last week at soccer practice will ask me again the next week. So it's it never gets old. How's the market is and it can be different every week. So it's totally it never gets old, and it's always a conversation. So kind of have, we all know what's going on right now in the market. Yeah, interest rates are historically low. Great time to buy. We know inventory is tight. If people are looking to sell, you can tell them that, gosh, let me show you what your home could be worth. Are you even thinking to sell? there's so many opportunities for conversations, but that's usually what it is. Like, how's the market and interest rates?
Yeah, so good, right? So if you don't have a good response to how's the market.
Yes. Yeah,
have
that. Know what to say, because that's your label now. If that's your first conversation, or if they're talking to you with your realtor hat and you're getting asked how the market is, definitely have a good way to respond to that.
Right, that then opens the discussion. So.
Yeah.
So good, Pam. Thank you so much for all your advice. We love it. And if anyone has any questions for Pam, again, feel free to pop them in the chat or ask them. Beth, let's hear from you. And Austin, I think Beth has some slides. Beth, tell us what you're doing with your database and to get business and what's going on right now with you.
Well, I think what's really important, regardless of where you are in your career, is to be real. I mean, wherever you are is where you are. And when I teach an ethics class, the first thing I always say is, this is not an industry where you can fake it till you make it. That's what gets us in trouble. And so if you're newer, or if it's even, you know, I got stumped by a question last Friday that had to do with the UGB, urban growth boundary in our county. And I got kind of excited about it because I was like, oh, I don't really know the answer to that, but I know who to call to get the answer for you. And that led to a great conversation with the planning department. And you know, I think the important thing and why people will come back to you is that you're real, you're authentic for who you are in the moment. And if you don't know, don't be afraid to say, gosh, you know, I don't know the answer to that, but I know who to call to find the answer for you. I just put together these slides. I don't know if you have them, Austin. The first one, just these are some database sphere thoughts that have worked for me. Whatever you use, keep it simple. If it's too complicated to use, you're not going to. And I'm celebrating my first year anniversary with KW this month. Yay! Best decision I ever made. And actually, I think it's like in a week or two, might be next week, I don't know. So when I left my previous company, I thought I would have access to my database, and I did not. So I lost everything. And I have spent the last year rebuilding everything. And I'm now at a place where I'm starting to learn how to use Command. Thank you, Tanya. And I'm working on it. But the important thing that we've heard from both the other two speakers is that our database needs to be fresh. And I've been the gamut. I've done the Brian Buffini thing of where absolutely everyone you talk to, you say, hey, do you mind if I put you in my database, and can I have your email and your address? And I ended up at one point with like 1,500 people in a database, and about 1,400 of them I didn't know. And it was not effective. I'd send out even emails, and a bunch of them would bounce back. I'd send out mailers. Some of them would be returned because they didn't know me, and it was just a name. So I've settled on, I try to keep my database somewhere around 200 active clients past clients, new clients, that I really know who those people are. They know me, so that when they see something from me, they're much more likely to open it. I'm always adding new people, of course, but it's with permission and with a conversation. Mix up how you contact your sphere, a balance of mailing, social media, emails, and phone calls. Now, I know about myself, I'm not good on the phone. I'm just goofy. I am legit goofy on the telephone. Not good at it. So if I'm going to call someone, I have a very specific script that I write out for myself, even if it's a client that I know well, because I either talk too much or I don't talk enough, or I ask too many questions, or I don't ask the right questions, or I get easily distracted. And so I'm very careful about phone calls because it's not my strong suit. Number 4, remember that you're not a chef. You're a realtor with sharp professional skills. So I have an absolute, for me, I don't send out recipes because I don't want them to think that I'm anything but a real estate professional. And so it may be the greatest recipe in the world, but they'll find it someplace else. And unless I have a specific plan for that recipe, like at the beginning of farmer's market and the end of farmer's market, I go to farmer's market on a specific day and see what's available and create a menu from that. And then I send that out to about 50 in my database. Here's what was available today. Here's what I'm making for dinner. What do you think? And I do that through a specific Facebook portal. And so it's engagement in that way. But just to send a blanket section of recipes, you know, they're not my recipes. If they call me to know what's this, what do I do with this? I don't know. But I can sure talk to them about real estate. 5, have a plan and execute the plan. Even if it's a plan that you're not going to do again, see it all the way through, because unless you know that that plan is either a good plan or a not so good plan, you can't make a decision about it until you execute the plan. And given it a reasonable amount of time to work. 2 weeks isn't long enough, don't give up too soon, but 2 years is probably too long if it's not bringing you a return. 7 is to be consistent. All of your media pieces should have an easily recognizable look. All of my print advertising, all of my Facebook advertising, all of my, when I do Instagram, which is not very often, everything has the same logo, it has the same picture, it has the same format, so that I'm easily recognizable. Automate as much as possible, drip plans, action plans, newsletters. With my previous company, I did a e-card that would be delivered once a month, and I will do something. I know there's something like that in Command, I just don't know what it is yet. But I'll sit down in December and put in all the holidays, if I have their birthdays, if I have their home anniversaries, and automate that. It takes me about a day, but then it's done for the entire year. And so they're going to be touched, at least with that. And
I love that, right? Setting yourself up for success for the whole year ahead with all your automation.
Yeah, it takes me a day to do it, but then it's done. And I know that everyone in my database is going to be touched at least once a month through that e-card kind of situation. And don't overlook the human individual contact or touch, because we don't get that very often these days. And repeatedly say thank you. Number 10 is to praise your local providers, praise your sphere when they provide you referrals. Like on my Facebook pages, I will say, hey, thanks. And I usually use initials. Thanks for that referral to that buyer we're meeting today. Sure appreciate it. And acknowledge them. They knew who they are. They don't need to be named by name. And I really think it's important that we praise our affiliates, our title company, the home warranty. I had a home warranty rep actually pick up a dishwasher and drive it out to one of my clients when their dishwasher failed because they couldn't get a timely COVID delivery. So he put the dishwasher in the back of his van, drove it to their house, and had it installed for them. And I thanked him all over the place. Our inspectors, our lenders, if we don't have them on our team, we aren't as successful. Okay, so next slide, please.
Lots of good tips. Beth.
This is from my business plan. I make sure that all of my sphere gets touched 4 times per year minimum. They get 2 mailings. It's actually 3, but time change postcards. I know that seems really old fashioned, but I didn't do it this year because when I went to the post office and saw the barrels of recycled mailing from the election year, I just decided this wasn't the year to do a postcard like that. It would just get lost. And I had a listing appointment yesterday morning at 9 a.m. and I got there and they had not updated their bedside alarm clock. And when they came to the door, they were in their jammies and slippers. So there are people who value just that thing. And they made it a point to tell me, oh, you didn't send out the time change cards this year. Got it. I invest in a really nice calendar. Cost me about $2.50 per calendar, and then another $1 and something to mail it. But it's a full-size calendar, and they have beautiful pictures with inspirational quotes, and those are valued very highly by my sphere. They let me know that, and if I don't get them mailed in a timely way, they let me know that. This year I'm mailing them early because I think we're just all ready to look forward. Social media, I do a lot of Facebook social media. I'm not so big on Instagram, partly because I don't use it personally. I have 3 pages that are active. I have my personal page. I have Beth Caster's a Realtor, which is my professional page. And then I have a community page called I Love 3rd Street, McMinnville, Oregon. If you don't know McMinnville, that's our main street. And when we started in the COVID lockdown in March, I had about 500 members that had been puttering along for 2 or 3 years. We're now up to about 3,000 members, and it's gotten very active. And I post on there what businesses are open, what are they doing, what are the specials, can you do takeout? For some of the clothing stores, they will put together a style box for you and deliver it to your front porch. You try it on in the safety of your home. What you don't want, they'll come back and pick up, or you drop off. I mean, those are the kinds of things. Even if you're not posting actively on Facebook, you can start by liking 2 or 3 times a day, liking what someone else is posting, so that you begin to have some kind of presence. And I always make sure that my posts focus on the client. Congratulations to my awesome sellers. Just for deciding to list now, or that we're in pending, or it's always about the buyer or seller and not about me. I'm not a big fan of the humble brag. I like my sphere, which is my community. I've changed what I think about with my sphere. I want them to know that I'm active and successful, and I'm the real estate expert to come to, but I do that with facts and showing local resources and not so much the look what I did.
That's a great reminder to make it about your clients.
Yeah. And then my clients pick it up on their pages and share it because they were mentioned. So it's a win-win for everybody. I do a lot of handwritten notes, largely because it's kind of a lost art. I mean, when was the last time that you got a personally handwritten, thoughtful note from someone? And I have a lot of success with that. When I'm going on a listing appointment next week, that came directly from, I've sent them personal handwritten notes over the last year, just checking in with you, how are you doing? It just lets them see who I am and what my level of service looks like. I'm trying the new Source AM cards. They were a sponsor for one of the, I don't know if it was business planning or it was something in the last couple of months, $40 a month. And actually, that's a bargain by the time you think about what you pay for a card, what you pay for postage. It's not that outrageous. So far I like it. The cards are a good quality when they're delivered. They have a font that looks like it's handwritten and signed by you. So I'm experimenting with that. And then next is to be visible in your community and neighborhood. I sponsor as many events as I can. I sponsor, oh, can you move that up, Austin? I don't know if Austin's still with us, but I sponsor the downtown farmers market. So every week, not quite that far, back to the, no, back to the other one. There, right there, yay. So every week at the farmers market, every social media post, everything that goes out is my name and logo. So I consider that an important part of my marketing. That's a different touch into the community. And I get so much play off of that and so much response from people that I don't know. Oh, I saw you at the farmer's market. It's like I'm there every week. A family place is a local resource and you all have them in with one name or another. They have what's called a diaper bank, and it's for families that can't purchase diapers for their children. And so they do drives throughout the year. Rather than doing my own drive, when that's happening with the local banks, I post and repost and repost. And this year, because of COVID, I didn't do it, but I do open up my office to receive donations that if people want to drop them by. Habitat for Humanity, same thing. I also, again, when we're in a different situation, make my conference room available for boards, different groups that maybe have been meeting in people's homes or they meet at the library or something, and they want a more professional opportunity. They can schedule their meetings and use my conference room. So that's been a really successful thing. It's a feel-good thing, but also I've gotten a lot of business out of that, just as people have gotten to know who I am and why I would allow them to meet in my office.
Beth, I love all that involvement in the community. It's so great that it's like, it's genuine, you're involved in your community in all these different ways. And I think that's a good reminder of what others can do to kind of get involved.
Yeah, and it's something I would do anyway, but it's just another thoughtful way of putting that together. And they all know I'm a realtor. And so I get a lot of questions, hey, my vets just moved out of town, or their office shut down, or, who can I call about picking up garbage, all of those kinds of things. Pay attention to your clients right now. There's a lot of online fundraising going on because they're not having their auctions. They're not having all that. It's an opportunity to either donate items to a raffle, or even if you're on a really tight budget, you can buy a raffle ticket. And that means something to your client that's putting that on. Volunteer where and when needed. And I would expand that into our industry. I've volunteered for OAR and NAR heavily for a lot of years, and that has always come back to support me. I get a fair amount of referral business from OAR members throughout the state. I guess we're changing our name now to just Oregon Realtors. So OR, I haven't made the transition yet. This year, I'm going to be chair of RPAC, and be happy to talk to you about that some other time. But our industry associations need us. Home Foundation, we have the golf tournament, we have all kinds of things where we need member involvement. Right now, we're trying to raise funds for the Wildlife Relief Fund. If you have events like in a neighborhood that's doing the bicycle helmet drive with the police department, perfect place to volunteer or donate some helmets. Okay, could you go one more?
Yeah, and Beth, if we can wrap this one up really quick, because Bradley has some things to share as well, and we're running low.
Okay, so this last slide, I get a lot of questions about what do you say in a handwritten note. Here's just some samples of things that I say. And I'm happy to.
And I can actually send these I can put this in the chat real quick if you'd like as well, so we can have people access it if they want to.
Or if we can put it on the Facebook page.
Yeah, and on the Facebook page as well. Perfect.
Yeah, and so just to wrap it up, my whole approach with my database and my sphere is personal, personal, personal. So thank you.
No, thank you.
I love that. And those scripts are so good because, sometimes writing handwritten notes is something that a lot of people don't do often. So thank you for all your good words of wisdom.
And I love your 3rd Street page.
Mm-hmm. Before we go, I want to make sure we hear from Bradley also, because Bradley, how long have you been an agent, Bradley?
I've been an agent for 10 months now.
10 months. So, right. So you don't have some giant database, no. All of that. So I want you to share what you're doing because you've been so successful. And I think that'll really help like some of our other newer agents or agents that just need to get some traction that don't have a giant database or network within the community.
Yeah, so I'll try to kind of keep this short and sweet, but so kind of what I think kind of an underlying theme between what Pam, Jenny, and Beth have all said is that you kind of have to just do what works for you and focus on that and use that to grow your business. And I would say coming into this with no real database and actually not being from this specific area, I've really just been focusing lately, especially on doing open houses. Because the way that I see my business personally is that I can do things that get me business now. And I can do things that get me business about a year to 2 out. And then I can also do stuff that gets me business 5 to 10 years out. But doing stuff that gets me business right now is going to allow me to get business a year out and 10 years out. And for me, that really ends up being open houses. So I plan pretty much my whole week out with the end goal of getting between 2 and 4 open houses. And I know that when I show up to the open houses, that it's kind of like game plan or like game time, that I need to use the opportunity to capture as many clients as I can and to show up prepared. And I think a lot of that comes down to kind of actually practicing what you're going to say and how you're going to handle each person that comes into the open house, because you really only get like probably 2 minutes when somebody comes in, unless you're hounding them down the entire time, which nobody likes. So I think just being able to really sell people as soon as they come into the open house is what's allowed me to get business without having a database and without making these really long game plans.
That's so cool, Bradley. I love that. And then that's how you're building your database, right? You're adding those people in?
Correct. Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm using primarily to build my database. And I've tried a lot of other stuff too, like Instagram marketing, Facebook marketing, some of those different types of things, tried Zillow, but primarily I'm using open houses to feed into the database. And then hopefully as I keep building into it and keep kind of creating plans that are doing kind of the newsletters and some of the stuff that Pam and Jenny mentioned and Beth, that'll help me get business a year from now, so that kind of builds up momentum, kind of like Jenny discussed too. I
love that. And then when you do an open house, like how much do you typically spend on an open house?
I spend barely anything. And I think COVID is a great excuse to not spend any money on open houses. But I think that what ends up mattering the most in an open house is that, well, from getting a client perspective, the actual house itself is what is most important. And the newer the listing, from what I've found, you're going to get way, way better people coming in and more active people. And everybody kind of complains a little bit about doing open houses in the winter time because they're going to be way slower. But the other side of that is that if somebody's willing to walk into an open house when it's 40 degrees out and it's pouring rain, they're probably pretty interested in looking at houses. So that's kind of a benefit from that aspect. And then inside of the open house, I try to make sure that I have the Keller Mortgage stuff out, that I have an RMLS client full, as well as the realtor who's selling the house have their pamphlets out too, because it's their listing. And then I have music playing in the background now. And that was actually an idea that I got from Magda. So thank you, Magda, for that. But yeah, that's kind of how I go about my opens.
I love that. So yeah, it's a great, very, very low cost, if any, right now during COVID, way to get business and build your database. And I think you really hit something on the head about preparing for it and really focusing on your conversations, right? Because you could have all the champagne and cookies in the world, but if you're not having good conversations, it's not worth it. So really quick, what do you do to prepare, like when you go in an open house?
Do you mean, like for the actual house itself?
Well, prepare
or like
to have those conversations. Yeah, what do you do to prepare to have good conversations with everyone that walks in?
I think what it comes down to is kind of knowing who you are and being able to sell yourself to the client and kind of being able to get an idea of who they are, because really the only way that you're going to be able to sell yourself to them is by finding out who they are. So I try to ask people a lot of questions when they come in and start from topics that are a little bit more kind of broad and less pushy, and then work my way into figuring out who they are and how I can connect with them. So that might start with being like, are you from the area? What brought you in here today? And then at the end, they're telling you about their 3 kids and what soccer team they play on. Mm-hmm. We can connect about that kind of stuff and just build that connection, and then try to use maybe like a trick to get their contact info or have them sign in on a COVID sheet. You can be like, well, I have some other good houses in the area, and then just get their phone number and text them a few others.
I love something you said, making it about them, right? It's not all about you and how you're great and, it's about them and how are they, what are they into? So such a good, frame of reference. And I think it's really great for you to share, Bradley, because you're creating a database from zero database, really, right? Right. So that's awesome. And then also, if you are not aware, Bradley is the winner of our Halloween costume contest or Halloween Zoom happy hour. He was the official winner. So congratulations.
How's that new car? How do you like driving that new car, Bradley?
I love it.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, did you have four escrows a couple weeks ago?
I did. Yep.
I love it.
Is that money going into the holidays?
What was that?
Is that going to be money for you going into the holidays?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yep. And I think a lot of my family and friends are going to be seeing that money too, hopefully with some fun gifts.
Oh, well, I love that. And then, yeah, for those of you that don't know Bradley very well, he's 19. So a lot of his friends aren't buying houses. So even though he has like friends in Sphere, he's got to branch out, right? And try to dig deeper into the database. So.
Andy's also in college right now, as well as doing real estate. So he's multitasking, doing multiple jobs at the same time, and still successful.
We love that hustle.
You're a rock star, Bradley.
We had such.
Well, I appreciate you guys.
We had such good words of wisdom today from Beth, Bradley, Jenny, and Pam. So I'm sorry we went a few minutes over, but it was such good information. So thank you guys for sharing. Hopefully everyone got something, and then we'll share some of those Beth's scripts and things like that in the chat, and as well as some of the like other things that Jenny and Pam mentioned too, as far as like services and things like that. So thank you all. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week, and
go vote.
Yes, vote.
Go vote.
Happy
election
day.
Later, guys.
Yeah.